Let's go Broncos! Something big is happening in Broncos country, and it's not just about who's returning from injury. We're talking about a playoff spot at stake, tough decisions behind closed doors, and a front office that may be about to make one of the boldest moves in the franchise's recent history. Believe me, what I'm about to tell you could shape the future of this team not just for this postseason, but for many years to come. So don't blink. Before we begin, click the like button right now, but only if you bleed orange and blue. And if you followed the Broncos through the good times, the bad times, the miracle of Tebow, and the glory of Super Bowl 50, then I need you in the comments saying, "Go Broncos! My heart bleeds orange and blue." Okay, let's go. Now let's get straight to it. The Broncos are navigating one of the trickiest personnel situations in the NFL right now, and it has everything to do with the league's strict rules around injured reserve activations. This year, teams are limited to activating just 8 players from IR across the regular season and playoffs, and the Broncos have already used 6 of those slots. That means only 2 more players can be brought back from IR. Just 2. And yet, there's a crowd of key contributors knocking on the door to return. Among the names being discussed, J.K. Dobbins, Luke Wattenberg, Brandon Jones, and Lucas Kroll. And while John Franklin Myers isn't on IR, he's been banged up with a hip injury. But it's those first 3 names, Dobbins, Wattenberg, and Jones, who are the heart of the decision. Only 2 can come back, and every one of them could make a meaningful impact on a playoff push. Let's talk about the obvious one first, J.K. Dobbins. If Dobbins is cleared, there's no doubt he's returning to the 53-man roster. Period. End of story. He's too vital to this offense, too explosive, and far too important to what the Broncos are trying to build on the ground. If he's healthy, he's back. That leaves just one more spot. One last golden ticket. And it comes down to Wattenberg or Brandon Jones. Now here's where it gets intense. If Jones is fully recovered, I'm giving him the edge. Why? Because when you look at the quarterbacks the Broncos could be facing in the AFC playoffs, names like Aaron Rodgers, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, C.J. Stroud, and Justin Herbert, these are elite signal callers. The kind of guys who can break your heart in the fourth quarter if your defense isn't stacked and ready. You need every possible defensive weapon, and Brandon Jones is a difference maker in the secondary. But there's a twist. P.J. Locke, who's been a valuable rotational safety for the Broncos, went down in Week 18 against the Chargers. His status is up in the air, and there's no solid update yet on whether he'll be ready for the divisional round. If Locke can't go, the depth at safety gets even thinner. Devin Key might be the next man up, and while some fans saw flashes from him earlier this season, remember that Packers game? The stakes are completely different now. This isn't about filling a spot. This is about stopping some of the best arms in football with a trip to the AFC Championship on the line. So you've got a choice. Give that final IR activation to Luke Wattenberg, who can boost your O-line depth, or to Brandon Jones, who might be the key to holding up your secondary against some of the NFL's deadliest passing attacks. Personally, if all 3 players are available at the same time, I'm going with J.K. Dobbins and Brandon Jones. It's a tough call, no doubt, but it's the one that maximizes the Broncos' chances in a postseason that will be won or lost in the trenches and the secondary. And this leads us to a bigger picture conversation, J.K. Dobbins' future in Denver. The guy was electric when he was on the field, 772 yards on just 153 carries, averaging 5 yards per attempt with 4 touchdowns. That's impressive, but the most surprising stat? He's set to earn only $2 million in 2025. That's a steal. He's one of the most efficient backs in the league, both on the field and on the books. The problem? Injuries. Dobbins has struggled to stay healthy, and with his contract situation uncertain beyond this season, Denver has a choice to make. Do you invest in Dobbins long-term, hoping he can stay healthy and continue producing at a high level? Or do you look elsewhere? One name floating around is Breece Hall, a top-tier back who's expected to headline the 2026 free agency class. Hall is dynamic, powerful, and less injury-prone than Dobbins. But he won't come cheap. We're talking potentially $13 million a year for a top-5 caliber back. That's a massive jump from Dobbins' current bargain deal. And what about David Montgomery? Rumors are swirling that the Lions could move on from him, and some voices in Broncos media are already making the pitch for him to land at Mile High. As a complimentary back to R.J. Harvey, Montgomery brings power, experience, and a veteran presence. But again, at what cost? This is a pivotal offseason coming up. Sean Payton and George Payton will have to weigh short-term playoff hopes with long-term roster building. Do they go all in with high-priced free agents? Or stick with what they've got and try to get value from guys like Dobbins, Harvey, and others already in the locker room? And here's where things start to heat up even more. Assuming the Broncos give those final 2 IR activations to J.K. Dobbins and Brandon Jones, what happens next will have ripple effects not just for this playoff run, but for the entire roster construction heading into 2026. Because while we're focusing on getting through the next few weeks, Sean Payton and George Payton are already working behind the scenes, looking at cap space, contract structures, and how they're going to build this team into a perennial contender. J.K. Dobbins is a fascinating case. On paper, he's exactly what Payton wants, a downhill, one-cut runner with elite vision, patience, and a nose for the end zone. In a Sean Payton offense that thrives on balance, precision, and maximizing every down, Dobbins fits like a glove. And for $2 million, that's daylight robbery. But everyone in Broncos country knows the elephant in the room: injuries. Dobbins just hasn't been able to stay healthy across a full season, and you can't build an offense around a player you can't count on week in and week out. So, Denver faces a tough decision. Do you give him another prove-it year at a discount rate? Or do you cut ties, eat the minimal cost, and swing for the fences in free agency? Because if you're talking about making a splash, Breece Hall is the cannonball off the high dive. Hall is everything Dobbins is, and more size, more durability, more versatility in the passing game. And with over 1,400 yards from scrimmage and 6 touchdowns this season, Hall is just scratching the surface of his potential. The issue? Cost. Bringing in Breece Hall means opening the checkbook to the tune of at least $10 to $13 million per year. That's top 5 running back money. And while the Broncos are finally getting relief from the dead cap burden that Russell Wilson's contract left behind, they can't afford to make mistakes with that money. But here's the argument for Hall. If you believe you're one elite weapon away from reaching the Super Bowl, not just now, but consistently, you make that investment. You go get the player who can shift the balance of a playoff game. The player who can take 20 touches in the snow, in Arrowhead, in January, and carry you to a win. And let's not forget R.J. Harvey. He's been a bright spot this season, showing burst, toughness, and the kind of attitude you love in a young back. But pairing him with either Dobbins or Hall completely changes the dynamic. With Dobbins, you get a cost-effective tandem with a huge upside if he can stay healthy. With Hall, you get a dominant 1-2 punch, but at a premium cost. Then there's the David Montgomery question. The Lions might be ready to move on, and Montgomery could be a more affordable option than Hall, with more reliability than Dobbins. He's not as flashy, but he's a bruiser, and in playoff football, that counts. He's also a fit alongside Harvey, giving you 2 backs who can grind out yards and wear down defenses. Think about what a backfield like that would look like on 3rd and short, or inside the red zone. That's where games are won. This leads us to a deeper philosophical question that Sean Payton is going to have to answer. Does he want to build a backfield that's explosive, dynamic, and potentially volatile with Dobbins? Or does he want something more stable and predictable with someone like Montgomery? Or does he throw caution to the wind, spend big, and go for the home run with Hall? There's also the locker room factor. Dobbins is beloved by teammates, and he's a cultural fit. He's a grinder, the kind of guy who sets the tone in practice. That matters. You can't just plug in a new name and expect the chemistry to carry over. If Dobbins wants to stay, and the team believes in his rehab process, maybe the smarter move is to ride with him for one more season and see what happens. But if you let him walk, you better hit on his replacement, because the fan base, the locker room, and the coaching staff won't have much patience for a misstep, not with the playoffs within reach and expectations rising. All of this underscores just how critical the next few months are for the Broncos. The IR decisions, the free agency plans, and the long-term vision are all coming together at the same time. And Sean Payton knows this isn't about just making the playoffs. It's about building a team that can stay there, that can win there, that can get back to the Super Bowl and finish what this franchise started years ago. So, Broncos country, what would you do? Would you take the gamble on J.K. Dobbins one more time, knowing his upside and his price tag are both incredibly tempting? Would you push all your chips in on Breece Hall, making a bold statement that this team is ready to compete now and pay to win? Or would you go the middle route with someone like Montgomery, adding reliability without breaking the bank? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the next video on screen now for more Broncos breakdowns. Go Broncos!